بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. First question says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh, I hope inshallah you're well and the best of Iman. This is more of a request. Please, I haven't come across any playlists or anything on your YouTube channel on the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu or the lives of the Sahaba and Sahabiyat. I mean something similar to the series that you made, how to memorize, how to read, and explanation of Al-Kaba'ir and others. I really appreciate if you could fit something about this topic into your schedule. Forgive me if you have already covered this topic on your channel. Maybe I haven't come across it yet, but if you have, can you direct me to it? Jazakallahu khairan wa barakallahu feek. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa feek barakallah. Jazakallahu khairan wa barakallahu feek for your concern and taking the time out to ask/request with regards to something such as important or so important as the seerah. First and foremost, the seerah of the Messenger ﷺ, then the seerah of his companions, male and female. As far as the request, bid'Allah ta'ala, we will try to honor your request, inshallah, in the near future. As far as what is on the channel about the seerah, then there are several lectures. Is there an entire long playlist, 100 parts, like other things like Al-Kaba'ir and so on and so forth? No, not necessarily, for reasons, but there are lessons on seerah. I would direct you briefly to certain lectures that were done before there was a HadithDisciple channel on YouTube. Perhaps we can send you the link on other people's channels in which we did talking about the importance of the seerah, the sources of the seerah, the Isra and the Mi'raj and other things as well. Alright? As far as just sporadic or scattered things about the seerah, then there's too many lectures to count with regards to certain things the Prophet ﷺ did. A hadith, the sharh of a hadith, Lulu Marjan, it's all about seerah. Prophet going here, Prophet doing this happened, that happened, etc. Wallahu alam. Question 2. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Says, supposed to be wa barakatuh. The Prophet Muhammad said, it shall be said to the companion of the Quran, recite, of which you have memorized, and rise up, recite melodiously as you would recite in the world. For indeed your rank shall be the last ayah you recite. Source, Tirmidhi number 2914, Hasan. In this hadith, Sheikh, does this mean every time you read the Quran, you'll be raised, or it is specifically what you memorized? Meaning, if you only memorize Surah Al-Fatiha, is that where you'll stop, or you'll read it continuously until death? This is how much you will ascend, and inshallah, my question is confusion. Jazakallahu khairan wa barakallahu feek. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa feek barakallah. The hadith is speaking on the virtue of reciting the Quran, and the virtue of memorizing the Quran, and the virtue of the reciter of the Quran, and that they will have different levels and different ranks according to how much they've memorized, how much they recite, and how much they stick to the Quran. And this rank will be given and shown and manifested in this life and in the hereafter. In this life and in the hereafter. So the person of the Quran is not just meant by a Muslim who reads a few ayat or a few surahs. That's a virtue in itself for any Muslim to read anything. But it's not the same as the one who's actually Sahib al-Quran. The one who's a Sahib Quran, yani, a person of the Quran, a reciter of the Quran, one who's dedicated and devoted to the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Question 3. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah reward you and your family well. Recently I had a teacher ask me about the Kaaba, asking if the Kaaba was an idol to the Muslims. How do I respond to this statement? Jazakallahu khairan. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. وَلَكِ بِمِثِلْ, may Allah reward you as well. The best answer is in the Quran. There is no mystery or ambiguity about the Kaaba in Islam. If you read the Quran as a non-Muslim, you'll find the answer clear as day. Who built the Kaaba? Who established it? Why it was established? What was the purpose of its establishment? From the shortest surahs that the Muslims memorize, Allah says, فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ. Says, let them worship the Lord of this house. Talking about the Lord of the Kaaba. So no one worships the Kaaba. If that's what you mean by an idol, then the Kaaba is not an idol. Clearly mentioned in the Quran. The one who established it was Ibrahim, Ismail. They constructed it. And what was the mission of Abraham and Ishmael? Except for the abolishment of shirk, the destruction of shirk, the vanquishing of shirk, the destruction of idols. So obviously that can't be anywhere close to logic and reason. Whether you believe in the Quran or not, no Muslim in his right mind would say that, who's read anything from the Quran, let alone a Muslim who knows these basic teachings, should have the ability to give that response. That we only circumambulate around the Kaaba because of the Prophet ﷺ, because of Ibrahim ﷺ and his son Ismail, Safa and Marwa, Hajar, so on and so forth, Nam, etc. So the best answer is found right there. As they say, the proof is in the pudding. And Allah knows best. Next question. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can women go to the cemetery along with the funeral procession? Jazakallah khairan. That's prohibited in Islam. Atiyya radiallahu anha narrated, Nuhina an ittiba' al-janaiz. She says we have been prohibited from following the funerals. وَلَمْ يُعْزَمْ عَلَيْنَا. أو كما قالت رضي الله عنها. But she said this nahi, this prohibition, or this saying no, wasn't something that was that rigid and stringent. Wasn't that rigid. So that mean that it's not haram, but it's only disliked? Or does it mean it's haram, but it wasn't something that was enforced upon them? What's important is, it says that they were prohibited from following the funeral procession. And the hadith is clearly collected in the Sahih. As far as a woman visiting the graves, then that's an issue in itself. Scholars of Islam, they differ on that issue. Some say that it's permissible with the proper etiquettes, and others say it's impermissible absolutely for a woman to go to the graveyards. What's important for us to understand is the concept of a woman following the procession, Muslim family, funeral, non-Muslim funeral, etc. That's a discussion in itself and a branch of many other issues. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Question 5. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Shaykh al-Kareem. May Allah have mercy upon you and your family. I mean, how does one deal with anxiety that prevents them from pursuing their dreams Islamically and secularly? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I mean, thank you very much. The dua of the Prophet ﷺ, asking Allah to remove sadness and to remove grief from him. Sadness and fear, grief, weakness, and incapability. That's the best remedy, is to use what the Prophet ﷺ used. Ask Allah to remove it from you. And once you ask Allah for something, make sure that you try your best and you work your hardest to do your part of the deal. Fulfill and carry out your duty. You asked Allah for it, now you gotta try. Now you gotta strive. Now you gotta, don't give in to the anxiety. Every time it comes to you, try your best to fight it, even if it hurts and it causes you, it bothers you, but you have to try, you have to strive. And Allah knows best. Question 6. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ya mu'allim. May Allah Ta'ala bless you and your family. I mean, I wanted to know what is the correct stance or position on the craft of Islamic fiction novels. I'm a creative writer who uses ayat and hadith as my inspiration. Barakallahu fika. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallahu khairan wa fika barakallah. As we have mentioned before, the ulama of Islam, they have conflicting views regarding writing fiction novels, and perhaps the correct view is that it is permissible as long as there is a good intention behind it, and as long as it's a means of morality, as long as it's a means of teaching and learning and benefiting, and not just sheer entertainment for the concept or the purpose of cultivating Muslim youth. Perhaps, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, it is permissible, and Allah surely knows best.